Okay, so if you're studying business, you need to hear this story. We're diving into the case of Northstar Analytics, a company that looked like a textbook success story. But, as we're about to see, their incredible growth was actually masking a deep crisis, one that nearly tore them apart from the inside.
And really, this whole thing boils down to one powerful question. Can your greatest strength, in their case lightning-fast growth, also become your biggest, most dangerous weakness? For Northstar, the answer was a huge and very painful yes. So let's get into how it all went wrong.
All right, let's set the scene. Northstar Analytics was the absolute darling of the Calgary tech scene. I mean, they were the company everyone was talking about. Super innovative, investors were throwing money at them, and their clients couldn't stop raving about their work. On paper, they were doing everything right.
And they were growing. Oh boy, were they growing. In less than 2 years, the team skyrocketed from a tight-knit group of 12 to nearly 150 employees. That's the kind of hyper-growth startups dream of, right? But while the number of employees was exploding, the very foundation of the company was starting to buckle.
Because even though everything on the outside looked amazing, they had a fancy new office, a long list of clients, underneath all that success, some serious cracks were starting to show.
The first real warning sign? It came when a key employee, a senior developer named Maya, who'd been there since the early days, just up and quit. And her reason was so simple but so telling, I don't feel heard anymore. That one quiet comment, it was a sign that the company's culture was in trouble.
And it didn't take long for those internal issues to spill out into the open. 2 project managers actually got into a heated argument right in front of a client. You can just imagine how awkward and embarrassing that was for everyone. The chaos inside was now damaging the business on the outside.
Then came the cold, hard numbers, the company's quarterly employee survey. Well, participation had tanked, dropping to just 40%. Now that's not just a statistic, that's a massive red flag. It means the majority of the team was so disengaged they couldn't even be bothered to click a few buttons. And for the handful of people who did respond, the comments were brutal. Stuff like, no one knows what's going on, and we don't trust leadership. But maybe the worst one was this. Teams are working against each other. They weren't a unified team anymore. They were just a bunch of frustrated people pulling in different directions. So, with productivity dropping and a huge client about to walk, the leadership team was finally forced to admit they had a serious problem. This was the moment they had to stop looking at their product roadmap and start looking at their own people.
The co-founder, Ethan, kicked off a crisis meeting with that one. Simple question. What's happening to us? And you can just imagine the silence in that room. These were brilliant people who had built an amazing product, but they had absolutely no idea how to manage their own organization. They were lost.
And it was his co-founder, Priya, who finally put it into words. It was this huge realization. We've been so focused on building products that we forgot to build the organization. See, they had hired a ton of talented people, but they never built the culture or the structure to actually support them.
Then, a junior HR specialist said something that completely changed the conversation. He said, "This isn't a technical problem, it's a behavioral one." It was the very first time anyone had actually named the crisis for what it was, a people problem, not a business one.
And that brings us to a concept that is absolutely essential for anyone studying business. Organizational behavior, or OB. It's the academic study of how people and groups act in organizations. It's all about how what we think and feel at work directly impacts how well a company does. This wasn't some fuzzy, abstract idea, it's a real field with real answers.
So they brought in a consultant, and the final diagnosis was incredibly blunt. Northstar didn't have a strategy problem. They didn't have a product problem. They had an organizational behavior problem. They were failing because they completely misunderstood the human element of their own business. That was the big aha moment.
So, the big question is, how did they fix it? Well, once you have the right diagnosis, you can actually make a plan. They didn't just cross their fingers and hope things would improve. They built a real, structured playbook based on the core principles of organizational behavior.
And just look at these steps. It's all about people. They trained their managers on how to actually manage people, not just tasks. They taught teams how to work together instead of against each other. They made it crystal clear who's supposed to be doing what. And maybe the most important thing, they started to rebuild their culture from the ground up, focusing on trust and being transparent.
So let's bring it all home. Why should this story matter to you?
Well, whether you end up running your own company or managing a team, the lessons from Northstar's crisis are things you are almost guaranteed to face in your own career.
This slide says it all, really. The old way of thinking is that a great product is all you need. But the reality? People are what drive success. The old view is that a smart strategy is enough. Well, the reality is that a bad culture will eat a great strategy for breakfast every single time. Technical skills might get you the job, but it's the human skills that will make you a leader.
So please, remember this. Understanding organizational behavior is not some soft skill. It is a fundamental business competency. It's how you build great teams, lead people effectively, manage conflict, and ultimately, it's how you make sure a company can actually survive its own success.
And I'll leave you with this final thought to carry with you. When you face your first real leadership challenge, and trust me, you will, remember Northstar and ask yourself this one simple question. Is this really a technical problem I'm trying to solve? Or is it, at its very core, a human one? The answer just might change everything.